God strikes karma upon the narcissist who mistreated you. When God says, "Enough," there is a moment in life when the weight of injustice becomes too great, when God himself steps in and declares, "Enough." Enough deception, enough cruelty, enough manipulation. For too long, you endured the torment of a narcissist. You were gaslit, discarded, and made to feel as though your worth was nothing. They took advantage of your kindness, twisted your words, and shattered your trust. And for what? Their own selfish gain. You prayed, you cried, and you wondered, "Lord, do you see what they are doing to me?" Let me assure you today, God saw everything. Psalm 34:15 tells us, "The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry." Every whispered lie, every betrayal, every moment you felt abandoned. He saw it all. He was not blind to your suffering. He was not deaf to your prayers. And now, he is not indifferent to their judgment. The narcissist may have believed they had won. They may have walked away from you, smug in their arrogance, convinced that they would never face consequences. They may have thought that their lies would never catch up to them, that their manipulations would always work in their favor. But God is not mocked. Galatians 6:7 warns, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap." This is not about revenge. This is divine justice. The same seeds of deceit, pride, and selfishness that they planted are now growing into a harvest of destruction. And while they fall deeper into the pit they dug for others, you are rising. This message is for you, the woman who was left broken, but now stands in victory. It is for you, the daughter of God, who thought she was forgotten, but is now stepping into a new season of restoration. Today, we will explore 8 undeniable signs that God is striking karma upon the narcissist who mistreated you. You do not need to seek vengeance. God is already handling it. And now it is time for you to see how his justice unfolds. 1. The narcissist begins to experience major loss. There is nothing more terrifying for a narcissist than losing control. Their entire existence is built upon domination, deception, and the illusion of superiority. They manipulate, exploit, and destroy, all in the pursuit of power. They thrive on the suffering of others, feeding off the pain they inflict, convinced that they are untouchable. But there comes a day when God himself intervenes. This is where divine loss begins. The narcissist, who once paraded their success, their wealth, and their influence before you, now stands on shaking ground. They once boasted that they would always be ahead, always one step above everyone else, including you. When you struggled, they mocked you. When you were vulnerable, they exploited you. When you needed kindness, they turned their back and left you in the cold. They were so certain that their power would last forever, but they forgot one thing: God is not mocked. The Bible warns us in Galatians 6:7, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap." And now they are reaping. Suddenly the career they clung to is crumbling. The business they idolized is failing. The wealth they flaunted is vanishing. The admiration they demanded is turning into scorn. One by one, the things they used to define themselves, the things they valued more than God, more than people, more than truth, are stripped away. The financial loss, the public humiliation, the rapid decline in status, all of it is orchestrated by the hand of God. Proverbs 16:18 warns, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." The fall is not accidental. It is not random. It is divinely appointed. And as you watch, you begin to realize something profound. This is exactly what they did to you. Do you remember the nights you cried over their betrayal, the moments they made you feel worthless, the times they left you desperate and struggling, with no regard for your well-being? They never cared when you lost, when you were in pain, when you were abandoned. In fact, they took pleasure in it. But now they are the ones drowning. The same narcissist who once mocked your suffering is now gasping for air, desperate to keep their head above water. They see the destruction coming, but they cannot stop it. The harder they try to hold on to their illusion of power, the faster it slips through their fingers. This is not coincidence. This is the justice of God. Psalm 37:17 declares, "For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous." For too long they abused the gifts God gave them. They used their influence to manipulate. They used their resources to oppress. They used their position to trample on those who had less. And now God is taking it all back. Their kingdom is crumbling. Their riches are rotting. Their once loyal followers are turning away. Their world, which seemed so indestructible, is falling apart before their very eyes, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. They are learning what they never thought possible, that the power they idolized was never theirs to begin with. They thought they were invincible. Now they are realizing just how weak they truly are. And you are standing on solid ground, free from their grasp, untouched by their destruction. Because, while they trusted in themselves, you trusted in God, and He never lets His people be put to shame. 2. The truth about them starts to be exposed. For years, the narcissist thrived in deception. Their entire existence was built upon lies, carefully crafted illusions designed to manipulate and control. They spoke false words with such confidence that even those closest to them believed every syllable. They twisted reality, playing the victim when it suited them, pretending to be the hero in their own stories while leaving behind a trail of destruction. And they convinced themselves that they would never be caught, that their lies would never unravel, that their sins would never find them out. But God does not let deceit go unpunished. Luke 8:17 declares, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." The narcissist who once controlled the narrative with such mastery is now losing their grip. The same lies they used to manipulate others are now coming back to haunt them. One by one, the people who once believed in them begin to see through their facade. Their charm is no longer effective. Their words no longer hold power. Their influence begins to wither. And the narcissist feels it. They sense the shift happening, but they are powerless to stop it. They scramble, desperately trying to maintain control, to salvage their reputation, to rewrite the story once more. But no matter how hard they try, the truth is spreading like wildfire, and they are unable to contain it. At first, the unraveling is subtle. A friend who once supported them now keeps their distance. A follower who once praised them now questions their motives. A long-time enabler finally begins to recognize the patterns of manipulation. Then suddenly it begins to snowball. More and more people wake up to the truth. The whispers grow louder. The doubt becomes certainty. And before long, the narcissist finds themselves standing alone, stripped of the very thing they worshipped: control. Their kingdom of deceit is collapsing, and they have no power to stop the fall. Isaiah 47:10 warns, "You felt secure in your wickedness. You said, 'No one sees me.' Your wisdom and your knowledge led you astray, and you said in your heart, 'I am, and there is no one besides me.'" The narcissist's downfall is not merely the loss of reputation. It is the loss of the illusion they built their entire existence upon. The truth they fought so hard to suppress is now shining in the open for all to see. Their darkest secrets are being revealed, their manipulations exposed, their lies undone. And now they are terrified. They try to run, but there is nowhere left to hide. They try to silence the voices that speak the truth, but God Himself is bringing everything to light. They are forced to face the one thing they never thought they would have to confront, the reality of who they truly are. They are no longer in control, no longer the master of perception, no longer able to deceive their way out of judgment, and the weight of exposure is suffocating them. But you who once suffered under their manipulation, who were slandered and ridiculed, who were made to feel as though you were the problem, you are now vindicated. The very lies that were spoken against you are now crumbling. The truth that was buried is rising. Those who once doubted you are seeing the reality for themselves, and the justice of God is unfolding before your eyes. You do not need to fight to prove yourself. You do not need to defend your name. God is doing it for you. He is revealing every deception, exposing every hidden sin, tearing down every stronghold the narcissist built. What was done in darkness is now being judged in the light. You may have once cried out, "Lord, will anyone ever see the truth?" And now, the truth is undeniable. The narcissist is being stripped of their falsehoods, left exposed before the world. There is no escaping the justice of God. Stand firm. Hold on to your faith. The battle is not yours, it is the Lord's. He is the one who uncovers deception, who brings justice to the oppressed, who tears down the wicked in his perfect timing. If you believe that God is revealing every lie, comment below, God is exposing the truth. 3. The narcissist faces the loneliness they always feared. The narcissist fears many things: losing power, losing admiration, losing control. But nothing terrifies them more than being alone. They have spent their entire lives surrounding themselves with people who validate their delusions, enablers who feed their ego, and victims they can manipulate. They cannot exist without an audience, without someone to dominate, without someone to reflect back to them the illusion of greatness they have crafted. They are not capable of true relationships. They do not love. They do not nurture. They do not give. They only take. But when God steps in, He begins to strip them of everything they once depended on, and that includes the people who once stood by their side. Isaiah 13:11 declares, "I will punish the world for its evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. I will put an end to the pomp of the arrogant, and lay low the pompous pride of the ruthless." The narcissist, once so full of pride, now finds themselves abandoned. The friends who once laughed at their jokes, the admirers who once hung on their every word, the enablers who once excused their behavior, they are all gone. Slowly, the people who once served their purpose begin to wake up. They start seeing through the lies. The manipulation no longer works. The once loyal followers begin to distance themselves, no longer willing to be used. And for the first time, the narcissist experiences what they never thought would happen: rejection. At first, they don't believe it. They tell themselves it's temporary, that they can win people back, that they still hold the same power they always had. But as time passes, as one person after another walks away, they are forced to confront a terrifying truth. They are alone, and there is no one left to manipulate. Loneliness is unbearable for them. They always relied on others to fuel their self-worth, to validate their existence, to keep their illusion of power intact. But now they are left with nothing but themselves, and the weight of their own emptiness begins to crush them. The silence, once something they forced upon you, is now their only companion. The isolation they made you feel, the abandonment they forced you to endure, is now their reality. Proverbs 18:24 warns, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." The narcissist does not have that friend. They spent their entire lives using people, discarding them when they were no longer useful, and now they are reaping what they have sown. Those they discarded will not return. Those they betrayed will not forgive so easily, and those they once controlled now walk in freedom, never to look back. Perhaps once you were the one left in isolation. You cried in your room, feeling forgotten, feeling worthless, feeling like no one saw the truth of what was happening to you. You thought you were alone, but you were never truly alone. God was always with you. While the narcissist is now drowning in the loneliness they created, you are walking in the presence of the one who never abandoned you. Psalm 68:6 declares, God sets the lonely in families, he leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious live in a sun-scorched land. You have been restored, surrounded by people who love you, walking in joy and peace. But the narcissist? They are left in their own sun-scorched land, wandering, searching for someone to feed their ego, but finding no one. This is divine justice. This is the moment where God removes their audience, silences their deception, and forces them to confront who they truly are. No one is left to cover for them. No one is left to sing their praises. No one is left to fall for their tricks. And they must sit in the very emptiness they created. They will try to reach out. They will attempt to pull people back in. They will even come back to you, trying to rekindle the same toxic cycle. But you must remember, their loneliness is a consequence of their own choices, and it is not your burden to fix. If you have ever felt abandoned, forgotten, or discarded, remember this: God is your refuge, your companion, and your strength. The loneliness you once endured was a season of refinement, but the loneliness the narcissist faces is their judgment. Do not let them back in. Do not be deceived by their false remorse. Stand in the victory that God has given you. 4. The narcissist's finances and stability begin to crumble. There is one thing a narcissist values above all else: control. They worship power, wealth, and influence because these things allow them to maintain their grip on the people around them. Money is not just currency to them, it is their weapon. With it, they can manipulate, dominate, and feed their ego. They use their success as proof of their superiority, flaunting their material possessions as a way to keep others beneath them. They believe that as long as they have wealth, as long as they have financial security, they will always have the upper hand. But what happens when God strips away their false sense of security? James 5, verse 1, Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you and will eat your flesh like fire. The same person who once mocked you for struggling financially is now facing their own crisis. The wealth they relied on begins to slip through their fingers. The career they boasted about starts to crumble. The investments they trusted in no longer yield results. The job they thought would always be there is now at risk. The lifestyle they built, one of excess, greed, and pride, is unsustainable. At first they refuse to believe it. They convince themselves that they can fix it, that this is only temporary. But no matter how hard they try, nothing works. Every attempt to regain control fails. Every financial door they try to open remains locked. They find themselves drowning in debt, making desperate choices, and watching as their once flawless image is tarnished. Proverbs 11:28 tells us, Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. For years they believed they were immune to hardship. They looked down on others, especially you, assuming that their financial success meant they were somehow better, more deserving, more powerful. They mocked your struggles, scoffed at your setbacks, and used their money as a way to control and manipulate. They withheld financial help when you needed it most, knowing they had the means to assist you, but choosing instead to watch you struggle. But now the roles have reversed. The person who once had everything is now losing it all. The one who boasted about their independence is now desperate for help. The one who laughed at your hardship is now experiencing their own. And yet they are too prideful to admit their downfall. They would rather suffer in silence than acknowledge that they are no longer on top. They begin to panic. They start reaching out to the very people they once mistreated, hoping to find someone who will save them. But where once they had an army of admirers, now they have no one. Their manipulations no longer work, their charm no longer fools, and they are left standing in the ruins of their own arrogance, realizing too late that they built their empire on sand. Matthew 7:26-27 warns us, "But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." The great crash has come. The security they idolized has been taken away. The foundation they once trusted has collapsed, and they are powerless to stop it. And you who were once mocked, belittled, and discarded for not being successful enough, you are now standing in the provision of God. While the narcissist struggles, you are flourishing. While their wealth diminishes, God is opening new doors for you. While they face one financial hardship after another, you are walking in divine stability. Because your security was never in money, your foundation was never in wealth, your power was never in material things. You placed your trust in God, and He has sustained you. Psalm 37:25 declares, "I have been young and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, or his children begging for bread." The narcissist is now the one struggling, the one begging, the one searching for stability that no longer exists. And this is the justice of God. They put their faith in the world, and the world has failed them. They relied on their wealth, and it has abandoned them. They believed money made them powerful, and now they are powerless. And you do not have to lift a finger. You do not have to seek revenge. You do not have to take them back. You only have to watch as God completes what He started. 5. The narcissist's health and well-being begin to deteriorate. A narcissist thrives on the illusion of invincibility. They walk with arrogance, believing they are untouchable, as if nothing and no one could ever bring them down. They convince themselves that they are superior, stronger, and more resilient than those they mistreat. They have spent years feeding their ego, convincing themselves that they are immune to consequences. But what happens when the very body and mind they relied on begin to betray them? When God delivers justice, it is not only through financial loss, exposure, or isolation. It is through the slow and painful breakdown of the narcissist's own well-being. Proverbs 3:7-8 warns, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones." The narcissist, however, has spent their life walking in rebellion against God. They have chosen deceit over truth, manipulation over honesty, cruelty over compassion. They believed they could do whatever they wanted without consequence, but now they are feeling the weight of their own sins. At first it starts subtly. Restless nights, an uneasiness they cannot shake, a creeping anxiety they do not understand. They were once so confident, so sure of themselves, but now their own thoughts are turning against them. They begin to experience the very things they once made you feel positive: doubt, insecurity, fear, and despair. They are tormented by racing thoughts, regrets they cannot escape, and a growing sense of paranoia. They replay past mistakes, wondering who has turned against them, questioning whether people are secretly laughing at their downfall. The same control they used to wield so effortlessly is now slipping from their grasp, and their mind is unraveling under the pressure. Job 18:7-11 describes this judgment perfectly. "The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks upon a snare. The trap shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. The very things that once made them feel powerful, their ability to manipulate, their ability to control, their ability to always be 10 steps ahead, are now causing their downfall. The mind games they played on others are now playing on them. Their own paranoia is destroying them from the inside out. And then the physical symptoms begin. Their body begins to reflect the turmoil within their soul. Sleepless nights lead to exhaustion. Constant stress leads to illness. The weight of guilt leads to physical weakness. They look in the mirror and do not recognize themselves. The once confident, charming, self-assured person they presented to the world is now a shadow of who they used to be. Isaiah 57:20 tells us, "But the wicked are like the tossing sea, which cannot rest, whose waves cast up mire and mud. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked." This is the ultimate torment for a narcissist. They cannot find peace. No matter how much they try to distract themselves, no matter how many new relationships they jump into, no matter how much they try to rebuild their image, they cannot silence the war raging inside of them. Perhaps once they accused you of being too emotional. Perhaps they laughed when you were anxious, dismissing your pain as weakness. Perhaps they ignored your cries for help, making you feel like you were crazy, like you were unstable, like you were the problem. But now, they are the ones drowning in anxiety, in stress, in a sense of doom they cannot escape. Psalm 32:10 warns, "Many are the sorrows of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds the one who trusts in the Lord." The narcissist is now trapped in a prison of their own making. Their lies have caught up to them. Their betrayals are consuming them. Their deceit is poisoning them from the inside out. And no one is coming to save them. And you, while they are suffering, you are walking in the peace of God. The sleepless nights you once had are now behind you. The anxiety they forced upon you has lifted. The stress they caused is no longer yours to carry. You have been set free, and they are now the ones carrying the burdens they once placed upon you. Psalm 4:8 says, "In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." God has protected you, restored you, and healed you. The suffering they inflicted upon you has returned to them, and they are learning, too late, that their sins have consequences. This is the justice of God. 6. The narcissist tries to return, but you have moved on. There always comes a moment when the narcissist, having faced the collapse of their world, begins to look back at what they once had. At first, they resist the thought, clinging to their pride, convincing themselves that they are still in control. But when they see you thriving without them, when they realize that you are no longer affected by their absence, a panic begins to rise within them. The narcissist does not truly love or care for the people in their lives. They only value what they can use. They see relationships as transactions, as sources of validation, as tools to reinforce their own ego. And when they left you behind, discarded you like you meant nothing, they fully expected you to suffer in their absence. They thought you would crumble, that you would wait for them, that you would remain broken, forever hoping for their return. But now, as they watch from a distance, they are confronted with a truth they never expected. You have moved on. At first, they don't understand it. How could you be smiling? How could you be at peace? How could you be succeeding, finding joy, rebuilding your life? They were supposed to be the best thing that ever happened to you. They were supposed to be irreplaceable. They believed that without them you would always feel lost. But instead you are walking in freedom, untouched by their absence, unbothered by their downfall. The realization hits them harder than any financial loss, harder than any exposure, harder than any rejection they have faced, because this is the first time they see that they never had the control they believed they did. And so they begin to plan their return. At first it is subtle, a random message, a seemingly innocent inquiry about how you are doing. They test the waters, looking for any sign that you still miss them, that you still long for their presence. But when you don't respond the way they expect, when you remain indifferent, they begin to increase their efforts. They reach out with apologies, with promises, with declarations that they have changed. They remind you of the good times, conveniently forgetting the pain they caused. They tell you that they have realized their mistakes, that they see the truth now, that they are ready to make things right. But these are not the words of a repentant heart. They are the manipulations of a desperate soul who cannot stand to see you free. Jeremiah 17:9 warns, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" The narcissist does not return because they love you. They do not return because they regret what they did. They return because they see what they lost, and they cannot bear the thought of you living a life that does not revolve around them. It is not love that drives them back. It is control. They see you flourishing under God's grace, and they want to pull you back into their web. They want to reclaim the power they once held over you, to remind you of the person they trained you to be, submissive, unsure, dependent on their approval. But what they fail to understand is that God has healed you. You are no longer bound by their influence. The chains they placed upon you have been broken, and there is no place for them in your new life. Isaiah 43:18 declares, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. You have stepped into something new. You are no longer the person they abandoned. You are no longer waiting for their approval, no longer searching for their validation, no longer vulnerable to their tactics. The version of you they manipulated is gone, replaced by the person God has called you to be. And so, when they reach out, they are met with a closed door. No anger, no bitterness, just silence. You do not argue with them. You do not explain yourself. You do not allow them to pull you into another cycle of false hope and inevitable disappointment. You do not return to the place God has freed you from. The narcissist stands there, confused, unable to comprehend how their usual methods are failing. They try again and again, growing more desperate with each attempt. But you remain unmoved. You are not their supply anymore. Psalm 37 verse 24 tells us, "Though he fall, he shall not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand." The narcissist has fallen, and there is no one left to catch them. You were once their safety net, the person they turned to when their world was collapsing. But now, God has placed a boundary between you and them. They are facing the consequences of their actions alone. And this is the moment when they finally realize they can no longer manipulate you. This is the moment when they see that the person they once controlled has outgrown them. This is the moment when they understand that their past mistakes cannot be undone, that the door to your heart is closed forever. They will try to convince themselves that they don't care, that they never needed you, that they will move on without you. But deep inside, they know the truth. They know that for the first time they have lost, and there is no coming back. And you are walking forward, untouched by their regret, unshaken by their pleas. You do not need to respond. You do not need to justify your decision. You do not need to explain why they are no longer welcome in your life. God has already made that decision for you. If you believe that God has closed a door that no one can reopen, comment below, "I am never going back." 7. The narcissist is forced to confront their own brokenness. The narcissist is finally alone. There are no distractions left, no enablers to feed their ego, no admirers to validate their existence. For the first time, they are confronted with the one thing they spent their entire life avoiding, the truth about who they really are. For years, they have hidden behind charm, behind wealth, behind carefully crafted lies that painted them as superior, untouchable, even righteous. They manipulated people into believing their version of reality, convinced themselves that their deception would never catch up to them. But now, there is no more illusion, no more carefully controlled narrative. God has removed every false sense of security, every distraction, every person who once served as their emotional crutch, and left them face to face with the raw, undeniable truth. They are empty. There is nothing left to prop up their fragile ego, nothing left to shield them from the weight of their own sin. The people they once controlled have walked away. The sources of validation they depended on have dried up, and the lies they built their kingdom upon have collapsed into dust. And for the first time, the narcissist is forced to sit in the ruins of their own making, with no one left to blame but themselves. They try to fight it. They tell themselves it isn't real, that it's just a rough patch, that things will turn around. But deep inside, they know the truth. They are not suffering because of bad luck, not struggling because of circumstances beyond their control. They are reaping the consequences of their own actions. The sleepless nights that once belonged to you are now theirs. The anxiety that they dismissed when you cried out for help now grips their own chest like a vice. The fear they used to manipulate others now haunts their own mind. The control they wielded so effortlessly has now turned against them, and they are helpless to stop it. They cannot escape it. Everywhere they turn, reminders of their failures stare back at them. They see it in the faces of those who no longer trust them, in the rejection of those who once praised them, in the loneliness that suffocates them like a heavy fog. They once believed they were invincible, untouchable, immune to consequences, but now they are learning the terrifying truth. No one outruns the justice of God. Luke 12:2-3 declares, "Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops." The narcissist who spent their life deceiving others is now trapped in a deception they can no longer control. The lies they told are now exposing them. The betrayals they thought would never be discovered are now unraveling before them. They are watching in real time as the reputation they so carefully cultivated is destroyed, not by outside forces, but by the truth they spent years suppressing, and they are powerless to stop it. At first, they lash out. They look for someone to blame, someone to take responsibility for the chaos that surrounds them. They point fingers, fabricate new lies, try to find a way to manipulate their way out of the consequences. But this time, nothing works. Their words fall flat. The same people who once defended them now see through their deceit. The charm that once won over crowds now repels them. They are screaming into a void, desperate to regain control, but no one is listening. And then, something even worse begins to happen. They start to feel the weight of regret. Not true repentance, not godly sorrow, but the crushing realization that they are the reason for their own downfall. They begin to see the faces of those they hurt, the people they lied to, the ones they abandoned. They replay every moment they dismiss someone's pain, every betrayal they justified, every cruel word they spoke without hesitation. They see you. They remember the way they treated you, the way they pushed you down so they could feel taller, the way they discarded you as if you meant nothing. And now they realize you were never the weak one. You were never the problem. You were never the fool. They were. Job 34:11 warns, "For according to the work of a man he will repay him, and according to his ways he will make it befall him." The narcissist was convinced that their way of life would never catch up to them. They believed they could continue to deceive, to manipulate, to harm others without ever facing consequences. But they were wrong. God has brought them to a place where they can no longer hide, where they can no longer run, where they can no longer pretend, and they are crumbling under the weight of their own brokenness. But this is not where their story has to end. God's justice is never about destruction alone. It is about exposing the truth so that there is an opportunity for repentance. Some narcissists will take this moment and use it to harden their hearts even further, convincing themselves that they are the true victims, blaming everyone except themselves. But others, few but some, will finally see the truth for what it is. They will recognize their own sin, their own deception, their own wickedness, and they will break under the weight of it. And in that breaking, they will have a choice: to surrender to God or to continue in destruction. But their choice is no longer your concern. You have been freed from their grasp. The chains they once placed on you have been broken, and you are no longer bound to their toxic cycle. The suffering they inflicted upon you has now returned to them, and you are no longer the one who carries the burden. They must now sit in the consequences of their own choices, while you walk in the freedom of God's grace. Isaiah 61:7 declares, "Instead of your shame you shall have a double portion. Instead of dishonor they shall rejoice in their lot. Therefore in their land they shall possess a double portion. They shall have everlasting joy. This is your portion now: joy, peace, restoration, healing." Everything the narcissist tried to steal from you, God is returning in double measure. You no longer have to worry about what happens to them, because your focus is no longer on their downfall. It is on your own rising. You are stepping into a new season, untouched by their regret, unbothered by their pain, fully immersed in the purpose God has set before you. And they will live the rest of their days knowing that they lost the best thing they ever had. They will carry the knowledge that they could have chosen differently, that they could have walked in truth, that they could have embraced love, but they threw it all away. They will never admit it to you. They will never say it out loud. But deep inside, they will know. And that will be their final punishment. Not just the loss of power, not just the collapse of their illusions, but the knowledge that they had something pure, something true, something given to them by God, and they destroyed it with their own hands. And you will never look back. 8. You walk away in victory while they remain stuck. There was a time when you believed that the narcissist had power over you. Their words dictated your emotions. Their manipulation controlled your decisions, and their approval determined your sense of worth. You lived in a cycle of self-doubt, questioning whether you were the problem, whether you were imagining their cruelty, whether you would ever be free from the torment they inflicted upon you. They conditioned you to believe that without them you would be lost, broken, and incapable of standing on your own. But God had a different plan. Psalm 37:23-24 reminds us, "The steps of a man are established by the Lord when he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand." The narcissist thought they were guiding your steps, shaping your path, keeping you trapped in their web. They mistook your kindness for weakness, your forgiveness for submission, your patience for permission. But while they were busy trying to break you, God was strengthening you. Every tear you cried became a seed of restoration. Every moment of suffering became an opportunity for God to rebuild you. Every betrayal, every cruel word, every act of manipulation that was meant to destroy you, God turned it into the foundation for your transformation. And now you are walking away. You no longer react to their attempts to provoke you. You no longer fall for their false apologies. You no longer seek their validation, their approval, their recognition. The power they once had over you has vanished, and they know it. This is their worst nightmare. Not financial ruin, not public humiliation, not even loneliness, but the realization that they no longer have control over you. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon that is fashioned against you shall succeed, and you shall refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment." This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication from me, declares the Lord. For so long the narcissist thought they were invincible. They believed that their tactics would always work, that they would always be able to manipulate people back into their grasp. They believed they could discard you and that you would always come running back. But now, as they watch from a distance, they see something they never expected: your joy. They see the peace on your face, the confidence in your steps, the lightness in your spirit. They see you thriving without them, and it terrifies them. They will never say it out loud, but deep inside, they know. They lost. They lost the person who loved them despite their flaws. They lost the one who would have stood by them, prayed for them, supported them. They lost the gift that God had placed in their life, and they threw it away. And now, while you move forward, stepping into the purpose and blessings God has prepared for you, they remain stuck. Proverbs 5:22 says, "The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin." They are trapped in the life they created, enslaved to the same toxic cycles they once forced you into. They will seek out new victims, attempt to recreate the control they once had, but it will never be the same, because deep inside, they will always know they let the best thing they ever had slip away. They had a chance to change, a chance to grow, a chance to be better, but they chose their own destruction. And you are walking in freedom. You are no longer bound by their games, their manipulation, their toxic presence. You are no longer a prisoner of their control. You have been delivered by the hand of God, restored by His mercy, strengthened by His love. What once kept you bound is now beneath your feet. What once caused you pain is now a distant memory. What once held power over you has no more authority in your life. Isaiah 43:18 tells us, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." The narcissist will never change unless they surrender fully to God. But their repentance is no longer your concern. Your focus is on the future, on the new life God is leading you into. No more looking back, no more wondering what could have been, no more second chances for someone who never valued you in the first place. They will spend their days haunted by the memory of what they lost, and you will never look back. If you believe that God has set you free and you are stepping into victory, comment below, "I am walking in freedom." There was a time when their words had power over you. A time when their manipulation controlled your emotions, when their approval dictated your worth, when their presence in your life felt inescapable. They made you believe that without them you were nothing. They convinced you that they were irreplaceable, that you needed them, that their absence would leave you broken beyond repair. They walked away from you as if you were disposable, assuming that you would always be waiting, desperate for their return. They thought they had won. But what they did not realize was that God had already begun His work in you. While they were plotting your downfall, God was planning your restoration. While they were convincing themselves of their superiority, God was elevating you above the destruction they left behind. While they were watching for your collapse, God was preparing your victory. Isaiah 40:31 declares, "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." You are no longer the person they manipulated. You are no longer bound by their mind games, their lies, their cruelty. You are not a victim. You are a child of God, redeemed, restored, and set apart. You are walking into the life God designed for you, a life of purpose, peace, and power. Every tear you cried, every moment of suffering, every betrayal you endured was not in vain. It was preparation for this moment. And them? They will watch from a distance as you thrive. They will wonder why their usual tactics no longer work, why their control over you has disappeared, why the pain they cause no longer affects you. They will try to find another way back in, another weakness to exploit, another cycle to restart, but they will fail, because the change they placed on you have been shattered by the power of God, because the hold they had over you has been broken forever, because you are finally free. Psalm 118, 5-7 declares, "Out of my distress I called on the Lord answered me and set me free. The Lord is on my side, I will not fear. What can man do to me? The Lord is on my side as my helper. I shall look in triumph on those who hate me." This is your moment of triumph. You are no longer burdened by their deception. You are no longer tied to their toxicity. You are no longer held captive by their lies. You are standing in the light of God's justice, completely and utterly free. So walk forward and never look back. The past has no hold on you. The pain they inflicted has no power over you. The person they tried to destroy is now rising in victory. Let them sit in the consequences of their choices while you walk into the abundant life God has prepared for you.